Jason with PremierGuitar.com, and we're at the Winter NAMM Show 2011 in California. We're here with Seymour Duncan, and with the original TeleGib, you call it, and you just announced that you're going to be making 35 more, based on this with Larrabee. So tell me a little bit about how this originally came together with you and Jeff.
Well, when I was in England working at the Fender Soundhouse, I had a Telecaster that I had taken from America over there, and I came from Cincinnati, and it was near where Lonnie Mack used to live. You know, he lived in Indiana, and so when I had gone over, I had actually had a bunch of parts with me when I went to work, and I did a job application at the Fender Soundhouse for work with a guy named Ron Roca, and Ivor Arbiter, who did the Arbiter fuzz face for Jimi Hendrix and everything. I went there and he says, well, you got to do like a scheduled interview, what you can do. And I said, well, just let me work, you know, I'll just work for nothing, you know. And I did like 25 guitars in 2 days, you know. They were like blown away that I repaired all these guitars. I fixed pickups, I did setups, I did frets and everything. So they hired me at the Fender Soundhouse. And then while I was there, I built the first TeleGib, which I called a TeleGib. And I had 2 humbuckers that came out of a old broken Flying V that belonged to Lonnie Mack. And so I had gone all over the place looking for electronic components, and I went to a motor winding shop in London, and I found a couple spools of wire. I found a spool of 42 and a spool of 44. It was like heavy form bar. So I started experimenting, and I made a couple models, and I wound it and I stripped it. And I said, man, listen to this, man, this pickup. And it just had this certain tone to it, which was so cool. It had a lot of sustain, and you could use the volume control to bring up the actual swells of it, you know, and almost like a Roy Buchanan kind of thing, but it had a fatter sound. So the neat thing about it is I built this guitar, and right across the street was the CBS studios from Tottenham Court Road, where I was working at the Fender Soundhouse. And I took this guitar over and I said, Jeff, man, I made you something. I think it's a cool workhorse, and I'm just calling it the TeleGib. And but it was a maple neck, or it was a rosewood neck, and I stripped the rosewood off of it, and I put a maple veneer over top of it, and I put Gibson frets in it. So it was almost like a Gibson feeling kind of neck. It was a pretty thick neck. When I put the fingerboard on it, it made it a lot fatter. So I took the guitar to him, and right then and there, he was doing the second BBA album with Beck, Bogart, and Peace. And he got done, and then I had left to come back to America. And then a couple months later, he did Blow by Blow with George Martin. So he did a song called Calls Me and His Lovers, because he liked Roy Buchanan, because Roy would do all the swells, and that's what Jeff did. So he would hit the note, and he would bring it up. He would hit the note with his finger and then bring it up, and then he would get this like a voice volume swell effect, which was really cool. So
speaking of the volume swells, will the new model of this have that new fast-acting potentiometer?
Oh yeah. I'm using the Born Spots, which is actually in this one. I've been using this for 30 years, you know, 35 years or more. And this is the guitar that it just, you know, Jeff's used it on a bunch of things. Noki Edwards had used it, Ted Nugent, Peter Frampton's played it. A lot of guys have played this guitar because it had just such a unique tone to it. But this was wound to the JB, and this was wound to the JM. And originally I was calling it the Jeff Beck, and this was called the John Milner. And John Milner was a character in American Graffiti, and he had the yellow highboy, and Jeff loved that movie, and so I thought I was going to do like a hot rod kind of guitar for him, you know. So I called this the John Milner and the JB, and I said, man, I can't call it that, you know, we know what the heck I'm talking about. So when I started making the production models, this became the JM, and then JM jazz model, because you can play a lot of notes pretty fast. So I called it that, and then I called this the JB for like jazz blues, because I didn't want to offend Jeff and use something without his permission or call it his name, you know. But everybody calls it the JB or the Jeff Beck, which they're not supposed to, but they still call it that. And so this is an old, like a 55, 56 body. It's got the old phenolic pickguard that it's like a parts guitar. And this is how I got this body. So somebody previously had done this. I don't know who actually did it, but I got this guitar in like 1973, and so I made this my second TeleGib. So Jeff has the first one, and this is the actual second one. Jeff's, I actually used the three-piece Tele bridge, and I cut it, and I put the humbucker in front of it. So it's like cut right here, and the pickup's like mounted right in front of it.
Yeah.
If you see the one he used too. And you can still see the holes here from the original Tele bridge. And so to me, I just got it screwed down, and everything's really pretty low profile. And you can see these are old patent applied for mounting rings from the old Flying V from Lonnie Mack. And they're really pretty worn. And so this is the original, 58, 59 patent applied for a pickup that I rewound to the JB. So for me, it's got a lot. I always loved Lonnie Mack. So it's got part of Lonnie Mack, and it's got this that I designed for Jeff. So it's got the whole the Jeff 5. And I'm afraid to take it out on the road anymore because it has such a history to it. I'm afraid that it's either going to get stolen or lost, or I'm afraid to fly with it. Luggage might get lost or whatever. So after this show, this guitar is being retired. So I'm going to start using the Larrabee guitar, and I hope I can use that for 30 years, 35 years, and make it look as worn out as this one,
Well, Seymour, I appreciate you taking the time to talk us through your TeleGib, and we go to the website SeymourDuncan.com. They can find more information about all the new products you're launching here in NAMM.
Say goodbye there, TeleGib. Say goodbye.
All right.
That's my baby. But thank you.
Thank you. This is Jason Shadrick for PremierGuitar.com.